Hello, this is Bob Harris, and welcome to an hour of exclusive recordings from the Radio 1 archive. In session, the Smiths at the Beeb.
The rain falls hard on a humdrum town. This town has dragged you down. Oh, the rain falls hard on a humdrum town. This town has dragged you down. Everybody's got to live their life, and God knows I've got to live mine. God knows I've got to live mine. William, it was really nothing. William, it was really nothing. It was your way. How can you stay with a fat girl who'll say, oh, if you like to marry me, and if you like you can buy the ring. She doesn't care about anything. Would you like to marry me, and if you like you can buy the ring. I don't dream about anyone except myself. William, it was really nothing.
The Smiths with William, It Was Really Nothing, performed exclusively for John Peel's show in August 1984. The group recorded 6 BBC sessions, often featuring songs that were not yet available on record, and like so many big names before them, the Smiths benefited from Radio 1's early support. Their guitarist, Johnny Marr.
Obviously, it was a great thrill to be given the opportunity to get our songs on the Radio 1 so early in our career. And just having studio time available to us was still quite a novelty, actually. And in a way, it started a pattern of us having to hone our songs a little bit more. Even though we were playing concerts, going in the studio and having them broadcast is a different matter. So in many respects, the Peel sessions, right the way through, all the ones we did, really just taught us how to make records and how to make Smiths records. We just went in and played the songs as we did live and then tried to make them sound like a record, which I think gives some of the Peel sessions a truer kind of quality to what the Smiths were about at the time. Things like What Difference Does It Make was exactly how we used to play it live, whereas the record came out a little bit more polished. And some people would prefer the Radio 1 session version and other people would prefer the single version.
All men have secrets and here is mine, so let it be known. We have been through hell and high tide, I can surely rely on you. And yet you start to recall heavy words are so lightly thrown, but still I leap in front of a flying bullet for you. So what difference does it make? So what difference does it make? It makes none, but now you have gone, and you must be looking very old tonight.
difference does it make? From the Smiths' first Radio 1 session, broadcast on the 31st of May 1983, the month that their debut single, Hand in Glove, was released. Responsible for drumming up media interest was plugger Scott Piering.
My plan always was, in those days, as it still is, to start a band off with getting a Radio 1 session, and there were 2 shows doing that. There was the sort of evening show there, which was a more commercial variety of the John Peel show, who was, of course, the godfather of all that is good and great in DJs. And so my ideal would be to start off with the godfather and get his blessing, and to do a session, and then move along into other areas. As usual, it's always difficult getting an instant reaction from Peel and his then producer John Walters. So I thought the best way was just to really go in strong and say, this is one of the best bands I've seen since I've been here, and get John Walters to go along. In fact, I think it was the first gig that John Walters ever came along to with me to see a band. Normally it went through the process of you give him a tape. And the band started up. Johnny Marr started playing those chords. The rhythm section kicked in, and suddenly Morrissey hit the stage with only the way Morrissey can do, and it was absolutely electrifying. There was no question about it from practically 30 seconds into the first song that this was something truly special.
He came back the following day, and he was wildly, well, by Walter's standards, he was wildly enthusiastic. And was a sufficiently rare event for me to take note of it. And he, I think, there was a brief consultation during which I got the impression that my opinion counted for nothing anyway. So even if I'd said, no, we don't want these Smiths people on our programme, he'd have gone ahead and booked them. But he was very keen on them, and as it turned out, he was exactly right.
The Smiths in session for John Peel with Handsome Devil. From then on, the Godfather was hooked.
Well, I was enormously impressed, obviously, and by that time we'd got hold of a demo tape as well, and the demo tape was most impressive also. I've still got it at home if anybody would like to make any offers. And I think what was most impressive about the Smiths initially was the fact that you could not immediately tell from listening to them which records they had in their record collection. And that is, again, very rare. I mean, most bands you can tell, even the bands that you like a lot, you can tell who they've been listening to. But the Smiths seem to spring full-armoured from nowhere, really, doing something which you'd not heard previously, and that's marvellous.
In 1983, the programme that preceded Peel's 10 to Midnight show was presented by his rhythm pal, as he liked to call him, David "Don't Call Me Kid" Jensen. He and his producer Mike Hawkes were quick to support the Smiths, and only a month after their first visit, the group were back in the BBC's Maida Vale studios. On the night of the session broadcast, the 4th of July 1983, Kid was joined by Morrissey.
In London to chat on the programme tonight is Morrissey, who's the lead singer of the Smiths. Hello, Morrissey.
Hello.
And welcome. You've come down from Manchester just for this. That's terrific. The first thing we've got to do, I guess, is establish for people who may not know anything about you, which is, I guess, quite a few people outside Manchester, how you came to be in a band called the Smiths. Are you a founder member of the quartet?
Yes, I am. I was discovered, if you like, by Johnny, the guitarist. He just came and unearthed me one day and insisted that we collaborate, and the Smiths emerged immediately. And we planned a strategy, and everything's worked, and here we are.
So how did you know you could sing? Were you in a band before?
It was just a vague rumour that went around Manchester, and he found me. He did some detective work, and I was just there dying, and he rescued me.
Tell us about the other two members of the band before we hear another number in session.
They were also roped in by Johnny. Andy Rourke on bass and Mike Joyce on drums. They're just the most capable musicians that I've ever came across in Manchester, and it's a perfect little family.
Great. All right, well, let's play another number that you recorded especially for this programme. This is called These Things Take Time. Is there anything you can tell us about this song?
Well, largely it's about the wounds of unfulfillment, and I think we should take it from there. Just listen to the words.
When I met the band, they were, in a nutshell, their whole strategy was they wanted to be as big as the Beatles, but they wanted to maintain an attitude like the Sex Pistols. They felt they could balance both. And to an extent they did. As far as radio was concerned, they just felt it was something that excluded them because they did have this attitude. So I have to admit, I was credited with simply getting these sessions. In actual fact, it was a piece of cake, because once the first one happened, once the Smiths phenomenon started happening, then virtually everybody came to me, and I was a traffic manager.
Upon the sand, upon the bay, there is a quick and easy way, you say, before you illustrate, I'd rather stay. I'm not the man you think I am, I'm not the man you think I am. And sorrow's native son, he will not smile for anyone. And pretty girls may play. End of the pier, end of the bay, you tug my arm and say, give in to lust, give up to lust, oh, heaven knows we'll soon be dust. Oh, I'm not the man you think I am, I'm not the man you think I am. And sorrow's native son, he will not rise for anyone. And pretty girls may play. I could have been wild and I could have been free, but nature played this trick on me. She wants it now, and she will not wait, but she's too rough and I'm too delicate. Then on the sand, another man, he takes her hand, a smile lights up her stupid face, and well it would. I lost my faith in womanhood, I lost my faith in womanhood, I lost my faith.
Pretty Girls Make Graves from the third Smiths session, recorded on the 25th of August 1983. On that day, the Sun newspaper ran a story with the headline, "Child Sex Song Puts Beeb in a Spin," alleging that BBC executives were worried about paedophile references in the song Reel Around the Fountain. Scott Piering.
I think that whole business about the lyrics of Reel Around the Fountain, it's time the tale were told of how he took a child and made him old. As innocent and as fairly ambiguous as that is, this is one of the things that a particular journalist who was writing for Sounds at the time, Dave McCulloch, decided to boost into an issue. And first he did it, I believe, in an article in Sounds, and made sure that it actually got to the Sun. I mean, I don't think I'm misrepresenting it to say that he made that little story available because he did an interview. and at which time Morrissey was making his usual very grandiose and sort of sailing close to the wind kind of comments that he always does. So when the Sun picked it up, of course, it became a big issue, and not surprisingly, somebody like the BBC was very concerned about it on a high up level if someone brought it to their attention. It actually, Reel Around the Fountain actually made a test pressing stage for a single. It's probably one of the rarest Smiths artifacts that I can think of, because there were fewer than 20 made, and the rest of those were, once it was decided that the single was not going to be that was not going to be the A-side. And I've got to admit, it was, I believe at the time at Rough Trade, it was purely a reaction to the reaction that had been blown up in the papers about a completely beautiful and not at all subversive song.
It's time the tale were told of how you took a child and you made him whole. It's time the tale were told
Around the Fountain had already been broadcast as part of their first BBC session in May. But with all the palaver in the tabloids, the controller of Radio 1 decided the new version should be dropped from the David Jensen show in September. John Peel.
Particularly at that time, things are a little easier now, but particularly in the 80s, you were always conscious that the possibility of controversy existed with almost anything that wasn't an instrumental, because there exist people, as you know, whose function it is, or self-appointed function it is, anyway, to be horrified by almost anything. I think it's not unreasonable to say that Walters and Chinnery didn't get on splendidly, so it would be entirely in character for him, I think, having heard that Reel Around the Fountain had been, or had not been played on the Jensen programme, to book them for a second session for the programme, and of course it was both musically and morally exactly the right thing to do.
In session, the Smiths at the Beeb.
I would rather not go back to the old house. I would rather not go back to the old house. There's too many bad memories, too many memories. When you cycle by, there began all my dreams. The saddest thing I've ever seen. And you never knew how much I really liked you, because I never even told you you still there? Or have you moved away? Or have you moved to go back to the old house, but I never will, I never will, I never will, I never will.
Back to the Old House. And This Charming Man were featured on the John Peel programme broadcast on the 21st of September 1983. In November, This Charming Man was released as the second Smiths single and climbed to the dizzying heights of number 25. But the chart statistic of one minor hit in 1983 was counterbalanced by their remarkable popularity on nighttime Radio 1. Their 4 sessions had been broadcast an amazing 12 times in 7 months.
I think one of the nice things that I get from bands fairly frequently, unless they just come in and do songs from their current LP, which is always disappointing, really, is the fact that the songs become so well known through the programmes that when they do them at live gigs, people cheer them, and this despite the fact that they're not commercially available. And both Kid Jensen and myself were obviously very keen on the Smiths and anxious to get them in to do as many sessions as we could possibly get them in to do. I'd have had them do more if it was possible. And so there were loads of Smiths sessions broadcast during the year, and at the end of the year there were 4 of the Smiths songs cropped up in the Festive 50. And one of those 4 songs, of course, was Reel Around the Fountain, which had to be taken from our session and came into the Festive 50 at that all-important number 6 position.
And John's listeners voted This Charming Man to number 2, the runner-up to New Order's huge hit Blue Monday. The Smiths' breakthrough was confirmed when their debut album reached number 2 in February 1984, and the single Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now cracked the top 20 3 months later. When the follow-up, William It Was Really Nothing, was released, they recorded their 4th John Peel session and played 2 songs eventually included on their next album, Rush Home Ruffians and Nowhere Fast.
I'd like to drop my trousers to the world. I am a man of means, of slender means. Each household appliance is like a new science in my town. And if the day came when I felt a natural emotion, I'd get such a shock I'd probably jump in the ocean. And when a train goes by, it's such
nowhere fast. In August 1984, the group also recorded for John Peel a song that became a hit 6 months later, How Soon Is Now.
The sun and the air all the shyness that is criminally vulgar. I am the sun and air of nothing in particular. You shut your mouth, how can you say I go about things the wrong way? I am human and I need to belong, just like everybody else does. The sun and the air, all the shyness that is criminally vulgar. I am the sun and air, nothing in particular. You shut your mouth, how can you say I go about things the wrong way? You'd like to go, you could meet somebody who really loves you. So you go and you stand on your own, and you leave on your own, and you go home and you cry and you want to die. Exactly do you mean? See, I've already waited too long, and all my hope is gone.
on the 9th of February 1985, with How Soon is now in the chart and their second album Meat is Murder just released. Morrissey and Marr were guests on Radio 1's Saturday Live, presented by Richard Skinner and Andy Batten-Foster.
Johnny Marr did the music and Morrissey did the words. They're both with us this afternoon. Welcome, boys, again.
Hello.
About a year ago, you know, we talked to you when the first album came out. It probably seems longer ago than that for you, I should think, after all that's happened. I think the biggest change, though, Morrissey, actually is in the lyrics, because it's such an angry record. The words
Yes,
are so
it
angry.
is. And I think it is because lots of people think that once you make the crossover and you become quite successful and you have lots of fans and you sell lots of records, etc., that you become somewhat flaccid and fat, and obviously you can't have any anger because success kind of cushions you from all the realities of life. And it hasn't happened to us because we're so realistic about what we do. And so although it wasn't really a conscious effort to let's be terribly angry, it just happened that way.
Do you think, Johnny, you were ready for the attention that you received? I mean, people hanging on every note, I mean, waiting for everything you had to do and say.
Yeah, I certainly do.
You were ready, were you?
Yeah, I think we had a lot more important things to say than the groups who were around us when we first started, and I think that's still valid. That's something I've never ever doubted, really.
But I mean, Morrissey, you've said some very ungarden things over the past 12
Yes.
months. I mean, the famous quote, you know, how you've contemplated suicide. I bet you regretted that, didn't you?
No, I don't regret it. No, I mean, that was quite serious. But no, it's difficult when, with me, for better or worse, people do rigidly take notice, I find. Certainly journalists do. Wait for the next word. It's a very curious way to live because you can't be trivial anymore, and you have to be very guarded. So it's trivial. It's serious and trivial, but it's nice. I mean, I don't want to be a butcher or anything.
But I wonder if people take you, I don't know, whether they take you too seriously or not seriously enough.
Well, it's either one or the other, So.
Call me morbid, call me pale. I've spent 6 years on your trail. 6 long years on your trail. Call me morbid, call me pale. I've spent 6 years on your trail. 6 full years of my life on your trail. And if you have 5 seconds to spare, then I'll tell you the story of my life. 16 clumsy and shy, I went to London and died. I put myself in at the WCA. I said I like it here, can I stay? I like it here, can I stay? And do you have a vacancy for a back scrubber? She was left behind and sad, and she wrote to me equally down. She said in the days when you were hopelessly poor, I just like you more. And if you have 5 seconds to spare, then I'll tell you the story of my life. 16 clumsy and shy, I went to London and died. I put myself in at the WCA. I said I like it here, can I stay?
half a person from the Smiths' final John Peel session, broadcast on the 17th of December 1986, just 9 months before the group split. The fact that they'd still been keen to do a session late in their career and the release of many of the Radio 1 tracks on their records shows just how much the Smiths valued their BBC work. Johnny Marr.
We'd been given so much support, and it really, really did help us along in the early days. It was a vital part of our initial success. Hard work, a good time, and very exciting, and a feeling of I wish they'd hurry up and broadcast it.
It's one of the strange things that people always assume that you know all of these people who are in bands, but quite plainly you don't, you know. I mean, even then I was an elderly chap, a middle-aged man, and quite plainly the Smiths probably wouldn't have wished to hang out with a middle-aged man. Why should they? Nor I wish to hang out with them particularly. I did meet Morrissey twice, though, and the first time was on a round table where he was quite delightful, and every time he delivered himself of some splenetic assessment of a ghastly record, he'd sort of fling himself back from the table, you know, smiling enormously at his own cleverness, and quite rightly so. And it's unusual in this day and age. It was unusual then. It's even more unusual now to see somebody who rejoiced in the use of English. It's something which I would applaud. Then the second time I met him was I stopped on the way back from Edinburgh, and I stopped at the motorway services, which, if you're coming from Edinburgh, are just south, whether you're coming from Edinburgh or not, are just south of Newcastle. Wherever you're coming from, they remain just south of Newcastle. And I'd gone in there, and there was Morrissey, and he came over, and one of the strangest things anybody's ever said to me, he said, "These are my favourite motorway services." He said, and I thought how very strange that anybody would have such a thing as a favourite motorway service area. But an amusing man, and it's to me it's always a great shame when people who you feel are probably quite good company, you know, they become so big and they become such stars that you're kind of removed from them, and yeah, that happens a lot though.
I left the north, I traveled south, I found a tiny house and I can't help the way I feel. Oh yes, you can kick me, and you can punch me, and you can break my face, but you won't change the way I feel, 'cause I love you. And is it really so strange? Oh, is it really so strange? Oh, is it really so strange? I say no, you say yes, and you will change your mind. I left the south, I travelled north, I got confused, I killed a horse, I can't help the way I feel. Oh yes, you can punch me, and you can butt me, and you can break my spine, but you won't change the way I feel, 'cause I love you. And is it really so strange? Oh, is it really so strange? Oh, is it really so strange? I say no, you say yes, but you will change your mind. I left the north again, I travelled south again, and I got confused, I killed him and I can't